the Caldor virtual community meeting via Zoom and Facebook. Today is September 2nd, 2021 at 5 p.m. So our format's going to be a little different than it has been in the past as we continue to merge and integrate with Team 4 on the east side. So essentially what we've done is we've broken up this incident into two zones, a west zone and an east zone. And what we're going to do tonight, and we're asking for you to bear with us so we can serve you the best that we can, is we're going to do all the presenters on the west side first, then we're going to go back to the east side, do those presenters on that side. We're going to come back over here, do questions and answers for both sides. Then we're going to do closing comments from the incident commander, and then we're going to do this meeting in condensed version in Spanish. Después de esta cita, sea un bombero para qué pasó con este incendio. So to get started, this fire is currently 210,259 acres in size, and it's 25% containment. We have 4,451 firefighters and personnel fighting this fire on the ground and in the air. Again, we want to remind everybody that we disseminate information regarding this incident twice daily, at 7 a.m. and at 7 p.m. Those are our incident update sheets. And what you're going to see on these is information about the east zone and the west zone. Additionally, we also have a QR code on these disseminations that we send out, and we ask you that you scan that. If you scan it with your phone, it's going to populate 16 different links. It'll give you anything and everything you need to know about this incident. We also are very active on social media, and we have a public information line where you can call and talk to a live PIO. That phone number is 530-303-2455. Thank you very much. And now we're going to hear an operations update from the west side from Operations Section Chief.
Good evening, Eric Schwab, Operations Section Chief with Incident Management Team 6. I'll start all the way over here in Division Nora. This area is presenting challenges for control. It has over the past several days. I talked about it. It did jump over 88. We're trying to keep all the fire north of 88, and it did jump that area a couple days ago. We were able to get direct hand line and dozer line intermixed along this whole entire piece. We're currently putting in a large hose lay on it to plumb it and get that mopped up and extinguished, basically from the top of the ridge at Kirkwood all the way down, tied back into 88. I flew it today. There's an unburned pocket right here that was burning actively, putting smoke over 88 in the green area, the unburned area, so we were concerned about that, so we've had a lot of aircraft working that throughout the day. This unburned pocket right here is also burning active, even though there's a lot of rock in that area. There are some small stringers of timber, and if there is one stick out there in the rocks, it will catch on fire right now. So again, we're working that with aircraft and looking at different opportunities to gain control on that area. Moving down in the flight today, we did find one spot fire right here, just a quarter mile west of Leak Springs Lookout. Small spot, probably a quarter acre. We worked out with aircraft and got resources in there. Otherwise, basically from Leak Springs all the way back to the west to the Cold Black Line. Hopefully by the end of the shift, maybe midday tomorrow, that will be Black Line as well. Talked about this. This has all been Black Line for several days right now. Tactical patrols. We're actually pulling hose lays out and looking at repopulation very soon in Division Alpha. Same thing moving up in the top here. Flew this low and slow today. It looks extremely good. I didn't see any smokes on the line. We have infrared aircraft out flying that right now, and if we don't get any heat signatures next to the line, this line will turn black. We'll start pulling hose lays out of there and look at repopulation shortly after that, within the next day or so. Moving up along 50, everything was looking good along 50. The two unburned islands that we had areas of concern in are continuing to burn in. There's a lot less smoke production. The smoke wasn't going over Highway 50 into the green, which was looking great, so these areas are coming together. The other big area of concern for us is Division I, up at Wrights Lake. Did a ton of structure prep up at Wrights Lake. The fire hasn't made it up to Wrights Lake proper. The cabins up there are doing fine. This fire is burning into the desolation wilderness a little bit. We are taking an aggressive stance with that. We're doing a direct line construction with dozers, hopscotching with hand crews. When the dozers get rocked out, we have a ton of retardant up here, and it's just kind of checked up, burning laterally, and our mission is to just run this into, there's a lot of rock and granite up here, and we're trying to just take it up there and stop it. So we're doing a primary line direct, and we're doing a secondary line that's parallel to that, and we also have a contingency line that's going in simultaneously up there to the north to try and stop the fire spread. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Incident Meteorologist Jim Dudley with the weather update for the west zone of the Caldor Fire. So what we have going on now is we've had a change in the pattern to much lighter winds across the fire. And we expect this lighter wind regime to remain in place tomorrow, Friday, into Saturday, and possibly even into Sunday. One thing we still have going on, it's very dry. The humidities across the whole fire are low, and that's just something that's going to be around this time of the year. But the flow aloft across the fire is fairly weak. It's going to come around to a very light easterly or southeasterly direction, but not very strong at all. It might make the smoke go in a slightly different direction, maybe off towards the northwest. The winds are going to be all terrain driven, like I've talked about for several days. The terrain is going to make the winds channel up the Highway 50 corridor and up through the canyons and everything during the day, and then at night it's going to reverse and flow down canyon from the east back down to the west, kind of like water flows through a river. So the same thing's going there. So keep that in mind. Weather's gotten better. We got good news on the weather front. The light winds will continue for the next 2 to 3 days. That's your weather. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Volmer. I'm a fire behavior analyst with Incident Management Team 6 with CAL FIRE here on the west zone of the Caldor incident. With the decrease in winds, we're seeing a lot of decrease in the fire activity, which is great for the resources on the ground, so we can get in there and mop up all those hot spots. Some of the issues that we're seeing is just like operations talked, we're starting to find those spot fires that got thrown out of the control lines over the last 2 days from the heavy southwest wind event that we had, and so the resources are picking those up as fast as they can. Currently, we're still seeing the probability of ignition up to 90%, and we're seeing those spot fires that are in today's activity go less than a half a mile. So that's really good for the resources out there. We're also seeing a lot of unburned islands interior of the fire that are reigniting, and they're basically have been smoldering for the last 5 or 10 days or so, and now they finally have gotten hot enough, or they've gotten into enough dead material that they reignite, and they're just kind of burning the interior islands out. So there is still some heat there inside the control lines as well as interior, and we're going to expect to see the same weather and the same fire behavior for tomorrow, just due to the similarities in the forecast.
Good evening. My name is John Davis, Law Liaison for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6. As we come over to the evacuation map and repopulation map, what we did get today is a little bit of good news. The colors are starting to change. So this morning at 10 a.m., the communities of West Omo, which is described as Fair Play Road to Slug Gulch Road and Gray Rock Road outside the fire line. Omo Ranch, the town of Omo Ranch south of the Middle Fork of the Consumnes River, Omo Ranch Road east from Slug Gulch Road to 8N62 outside the fire line, and Barney Ridge north of Omo Ranch Road east of 8N62, road crossing both sides of Sapagio Creek outside of the fire line. So what that means is this whole area down here outside of the fire line, we were able to repopulate that and put the residents in the community back in there. As we did that, we reduced the warning for the communities of Farnham Ridge, Cement Hill, Consumnes, Coyotesville, Mountecuman, Carson White Oak, and Mosquito. We reduced the evacuation warning, lifted that, opened that back up with no warning in that community. So the good thing about that is the cooperation, the coordination that we have here with the 3 teams, East Zone, West Zone. It doesn't matter who the cooperators, the sheriff's department, utilities, everybody's getting in here, doing the work necessary to put everybody back as soon as safely possible. And that's a big thing, safely possible. We have daily coordination meetings, which are quickly turning into follow-up calls hourly to find out where we're at on the status so we can buy the spots as we can. Any bit that we can put you back safely and coordinated, we're getting you back in there as fast as possible.
Thank you, sir. Okay, as we move on and transition into this incident, we're asking for you to bear with us. And so we're trying to do this community meeting on both sides, include the east side and the west side. We're having a little bit of challenges right now with some audio. So we're going to try to do this on the east side. If it doesn't work as well as we want it to get the east side presenters, then we're going to have to do something different tomorrow. We'll continue this meeting, questions and answers, incident commander in Spanish as we always have, but we're going to give this a shot. So we think we might be getting some feedback, and we're just being transparent, honest with everybody. We're going to try to do this best we can. So we want to share this we want to send it over to the east side of the incident. Can you do that, John? East side, are you there?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Collins. I'm the Public Information Officer for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4, and we're representing here the incident on the east side of this fire. And first up, I'd like to introduce to you our Operations Section Chief for California Team 4, Jake Cagle.
Good evening. So going ahead and just start off where the West Zone finished, but here through the desolation wilderness, we continue to have oversight in here, monitoring not any growth through there today. We continue, if we do have clear air, we'll continue to reinforce that with aircraft. Again, our number one priority is life threat and any kind of impact to property. So that is where we're prioritizing our resources, and we will plan on fully engaging resources and looking at going direct in the stuff in the wilderness. As of right now, no major movement in there. If it does become more active and in need, we will put more resources in there. But this is more or less being monitored, and we will be mitigating it once the structure impacts are taken care of and mitigated. As we get into Lower Echo Lake, as I reported out this morning, quite a bit of activity earlier this morning. Things have moderated through there. Things look really good through the Lower Echo Lake. We do have resources gainfully employed and being aggressive in there and working the edge of the fire to mitigate it from getting into any kind of structures. In addition to that, we're doing structure prep through there, all through the cabins and homes through Lower Echo Lake. But right now, things are looking really good, making some good headway with our crews. As we continue around and we get into the structures themselves, we have Upper Truckee and Upper Truckee north and south. I know there was a lot of concerns in there with fire impacting that area. Things are looking really good. Fire's not in that area, and we don't plan for it to get into that area. But in addition to that, we're doing contingency line. There's already a line in that area, but in addition to that, we're going up over into Fallen Leaf around the lake and just prepping that. If winds were to change or we get extreme fire behavior in there, we want to make sure we're prepared to battle the fire in there. But right now, there's no imminent threat or anticipation that it's going to get in there. So, but our crews, mainly this is Dozer that is working through this area, prepping this. As we get into Apache Valley, everything looks very good and through Apache, and I'm going to kind of cut down the middle and then I'll come back up top and around the horn. But as we get into Christmas Valley here, things are looking really good in Christmas Valley. There was some reports of spots, but however, there was no spots in there that the crews could find. So we're gainfully employed. And again, we're being extremely aggressive through that because that's a priority for us, are the structures in there. So crews are gainfully employed through that area. As we jet back on this northern flank here, crews have been extremely aggressive in going direct through this piece. Everything looks good on the lower end. As we continue to get towards the shoulder of this piece, the crews are working. However, there was some increased activity through here, which is forcing our crews to come up. We're staying parallel with the fire, but we're pushing it over into the power line grid where we do have dozer line. So they're working that. So the fire's edge is going to, looks like it's going to continue to work up towards the power grid. But again, we have dozer line there. We have crews gainfully employed, working this area and being aggressive and staying as direct as possible. When I say direct, that means right on the fire's edge. That's our best tactic that we can do. As we come around, a lot of good dozer work around here. We tied in the road system. Dozer line is all the way over to Star Lake on the head of this thing. And in addition to that, we have crews that, again, were extremely aggressive, got around all the spots through the head of this thing. What that does is that takes a big, big chunk and potential threat to go into Nevada. So really good work through there, and we'll continue that. Yesterday or last night, we tracked some dozers across the 01 road, the 201 road, or the Unitas Road, Onitas Road, and tracked them through there, and they are working, dozers are working in both directions to tie in this piece. Fire did get active down by the 89, east of the 89 on this piece, and forcing our crews to go down towards Luther Spire, and we're going to be able to pick it up, go direct on Luther Spire, and basically drive it back up to the 213 road, get it back up into the main black, and then we'll continue the direct line. As we come through Scout Peak, everything remains static through there. Crews continue to work that piece as we get into the last little piece of the east zone. Crews continue to work this piece, and things look really good through this area as well. Again, crews are being very extremely aggressive in there and going direct in that area. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jake, for that. Next up, I'd like to bring up from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Daniel Coverly.
Good evening. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Nothing has changed as far in Douglas County as far as evacuations. The only mandatory evacuation is Kingsbury Grade, Lake Village, and Lower Kale. There was some confusion earlier about the community in Round Hill. That is not under a mandatory evacuation. So if you have left and you want to come back, feel free to do that. The evacuation warning is still in effect for Foothill between Centerville Lane and Muller Lane. And as always, you don't have to wait for me to order you to leave. If you feel uncomfortable and want to get organized and get out, you can do that, and we encourage you to do that. Stay patient. These guys are doing a great job, and I think we're in a good spot. So we'll, as soon as I can get you back into your homes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next up, I would like to invite from, where are we? South Lake Tahoe Fire Rescue, Fire Chief Clive Savakul.
Hi, good evening. I'm Clive Savakul, City of South Lake Tahoe Fire Chief. I'm also the Deputy Director for the Emergency Operations Center for the city. We've had it open almost 2 weeks now. And now that we have our own team, since they've split the incident into 2 zones, and we have our own team up on this side, we got to start working with them before they even finished unpacking. And so we've been working side by side with them. We're here to be the voice for our citizens and here to help the incident team with whatever they need from us. So stay tight. And like the sheriff said, we'll get you back home as soon as we can.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, from California Interagency Incident Management Team 4, I'd like to introduce our Incident Commander, Rocky Oakley.
Thank you. Again, good evening. I certainly want to thank each and every one of you that have logged in virtually in our community meeting. It's a difficult thing to evacuate, and I can't thank you enough for honoring that when the difficult decisions are made and our law enforcement folks have to execute that. And the operation folks, it allows the opportunity for them to go do the work. There's been some amazing work from the beginning of this fire to where we are today, and it's a collaborated effort of federal, state, local resources and our law enforcement components, as well as our cooperators and all of our stakeholders. And so this is an opportunity, as you see, that if you have any questions, please express those concerns and those questions to this group. Again, just can't thank you enough for what I've seen, and I know the difficulty it is that we've seen this summer on these large fires and the inconvenience when you have to evacuate. The other thing that I was really impressed with, that the areas that our folks were able to really take some really good action, was the effective fuels treatments that have been done and the collaborative efforts of the agencies working together to do that. The fire, when it's spotted just above, I think it was called the Apache area there, there was 150-foot flame that was in there. And they were able to get into that fuels treatment that was done, and the fire behavior dropped to about 15-foot flames, and the fire engines and the crews got in there and took active, aggressive approach to suppress the fire and prevent any structure loss in there. And that's the kind of work we see around the entire South Lake Tahoe area. And that's those efforts of all the agencies working together. So on behalf of our team, again, my name is Rocky Oakley, the Incident Commander for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4. I thank you, first of all, for your patience. And again, supporting all the firefighters, law enforcement, and all the folks working together to suppress this fire. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to have an opportunity now to answer some questions, but I think we'll push it back over to the west side, have an opportunity for those questions, and then I'll come back to us for a couple of those. Thank you.
Okay, folks, thank you very much for coming back over to the west side of the Caldor incident. So one question we received is how many out-of-state resources, how many out-of-states are actually helping out in this incident? You know, that's changing. The last that we looked at, there were nine different states helping us in California here. So very thankful for that. So now we're going to take some questions and answers with our operations section chief.
Okay, just two quick questions here. First one is, what is the plan to stop the spread of the fire in the Desolation Wilderness? Our plan is we're actively going direct. We're throwing everything we have at the fire between helicopters working in unison with hand crews and fire engines and bulldozers. We're currently trying to seek and get permission to take bulldozers a tiny bit into the Desolation Wilderness to tie some pieces into granite, with the main reason being it helps speed up lime production for us in there. There's already a ton of retardant that we put in there that's checked the fire spread. We're out of the continuous timber fuel model and more into a brush component, which allows us a little bit better chance of success with going direct. Meanwhile, like I said, we have a parallel line we're putting in simultaneously and a contingency line that's way outside of that box. So we'll have 3 lines in there shortly. Last question for me is define containment and smokes. Containment is the black line that you see on our map. Once we put this black, that means that it's cold, and we're reasonably assured that it's not gonna flare up again and continue to burn. And that containment is represented by a percentage of up to 100%. So I'm not sure the exact number right now. And when I'm talking about smokes, as I'm flying around or driving around, when I see smokes on the line, it's not always just open flame, but if you see some smoke next to the line, you know there's some heat there, and there's potential for that heat to slop over our line or spot over our line. Thank you.
Okay, so again, John Davis, there's some questions regarding the Pollock Pines area. So coming back over to the evacuation map, operations just talked about heat and smokes popping up and potential to slop over. So even though there's black line on here, the fire went through, but that's not the only danger that it has posed out there. There's a lot of other dangers with the road control measures, making sure that the road's good, that the power lines aren't going to come down, that everything's pushed off the road and it's safe for the community to come back in and travel through. So in coordination with that, we are looking at this particular area. We are trying to buy every piece of repopulation that we can as fast and safely as possible, but we have to be assured that when we put you back in, we're not going to put you back in and then immediately put you right back out because something flared up. So that is being reevaluated on a daily and hourly basis. As soon as we can get you back in, we understand. The sheriff's department, the fire department, everybody here really wants to get the community back. That's our goal. That's what we're working for. So we are looking at that. That's that daily the repopulation meeting that we have, but it's an ongoing contact, an ongoing communication and update as we move through this. The other thing is they talked about general description of what is a safe repopulation. When those threats to your home and the life is gone, that is at the bare minimum threat that we can put you back. That's what we're looking for. As soon as we can, we will.
Good evening, Dusty Martin, one of the Unified Incident Commanders. So as we heard from California Incident Management Team 4, and Incident Commander Rocky Opplinger, we have divided this incident into 2 zones, an east zone and a west zone. So California Incident Management Team 4 will be handling the east zone. CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6, along with NEMO Team 2, will be handling the west zone. So today, again, we saw some more progress, and we saw some more black line going on the map, and we're moving in the right direction. We heard operations talk about a couple of different hotspot areas up there in Division I, and then again in Division Nora down in that Kirkwood area. And we're continuing to evaluate those and get resources in there, along with getting a series of resources over to California Incident Management Team 4. We've got the same pool of resources, and so we're sharing resources back and forth. And the 2 teams are collaborating together to make sure that we get mitigation of this incident as a whole, not by zone and zone. We are working together, we are sharing resources, and we are talking multiple times throughout the day to ensure mitigation. I'd like to thank the public for getting on these meetings every night, asking the questions, staying informed, going to our public information site to keep that information up, and going to the one site where you can get the most accurate information. And as we heard our law enforcement liaison talk about evacuations, as I've spoken the nights in the past, we are reevaluating those multiple times throughout every day, and it is our top priority to get the community members back into their community. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay, folks, so now we're going to turn it back over to the east side, the east zone, for questions and answers. So, Sean, you were there?
Yes, great. Thank you very much. Before we get to those few questions, I just want to let everybody know that we will be streaming this, and we'll continue to answer any of those questions on the Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit. So over to you, Jake.
Okay, a few operational questions that were brought up. So a little bit more detail about the 88 over at Caples Lake. So that's right around where our zone break is. And just as said in the west zone, we're working collaboratively together, one team, one fight. So what we have going on is the activity did cross, and it's close to our dozer line here, but crews are actively engaged, as I said, working this, being aggressive, working this, going direct as possible. So this little finger that came out over just up above Caples Lake, they continue to work that aggressively and being effective in there with that. Far as specific to Kirkwood, I know that the west zone did cover Kirkwood specifically, but again, that's in the west zone report out. The next question is upper and lower Lake. So going back up north here, upper and lower, as I said, lower, we did have quite a bit of activity this morning, but crews are aggressive in there, working this piece, going direct on that, mitigating that, and also doing structure protection on the cabins on the upper and lower. But our main focus right now is because of the increased activity this morning in the lower, that's where we're working a lot of our resources to get aggressive, going direct on that. Upper Echo Lake, that's where they're doing any kind of prep, looking at the structures in through that area. And there was, in addition to that, it talked pretty much all the structure impact through Myers, going into Apache, all this area, as I said, Myers, and getting up into Upper Truckee area, north and south. This looks really good. To give you an example, we're putting in the gas company tomorrow. We allowed them to go in and purge the system. That means they'll be releasing some natural gas through the tanks there. So obviously, if we had fire in there, we wouldn't allow for that. So that's an example for you to know that, you know, there's not a fire impact into this Upper Truckee area. Again, all through here, structures, things are looking really good through here. Crews are actively engaged 24 hours a day in there working this, and things are looking good through that valley. The last question was, what do you think with the change of winds? What kind of impacts to the basin, South Lake Tahoe, and Heavenly area? So with that wind swap, what we're seeing, we're not getting the red flag warning. So we're not getting a big wind, a big southwest wind push. What we are experiencing is in the morning, we are getting a southeast flow. We always talk about the wind direction out of where it's coming from. So we're getting a southeast flow That's not a huge impact that we're seeing in the morning because it's very, very light winds through there. So again, crews have been actively engaged, going direct, being aggressive, going on this piece. So that is being an effective tactic. So the wind's not driving the fire through there. Moving forward in the afternoon, winds do swap to the southwest, the original direction that we've been experiencing through the duration of this incident. So coming through here, and again, those are light winds. We have a lot of sheltering over in Trimmer Peak area, just with the topographic features through there. So winds are really minimal through there.
That's all the questions that we have from us. Like I said, we will continue answering those questions as we see them on our Facebook page. So back to you guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean, very much. So we just want to say to all the viewers out there, thank you very much for bearing with us with this new format. As we continue to grow and integrate, it's very important that we bring validated and consistent messaging to everybody out there. And we're doing this with all sides of the incident. So thank you so much. We thought we're going to have some challenges with some technology, but it worked out very well. So we may do the same format tomorrow or a little bit different. I want to thank you very much. So now we're going to conduct this in Spanish and remind you to stay safe and stay informed. Thank you very much.
Buenas noches. Ricardo Tlapala, vocero, Incidente Caldor, con el breve informativo de hoy, el 2 de septiembre de 2021. En la actualización, el incendio ha consumido 210,259 acres. Estamos a 25% de contenimiento y tenemos a 4,451 bomberos comprometidos en la batalla al incendio. El incendio ha sido algo muy complejo y por esa complejidad hemos dividido el incendio en dos zonas, la zona oeste y la zona este. Yo les voy a dar un breve sobre el incendio entero y específicamente voy a delinear puntos que hicieron nuestros comandantes dependiendo en cuál área geográfica estaban operando. Empezando en el oeste, lo que vemos es todas nuestras líneas negras de contención que ven en el mapa. Nos han mantenido, no han incrementado. El meteorólogo nos avisó que expiró la bandera roja anoche y por esa expiración de los vientos hemos tenido vientos leves que nos han dado la oportunidad para atacar el incendio directamente. Lo que significa directamente, tenemos a bomberos en las líneas con mangueras y herramientas de mano, metiendo línea de contención y controlando y extinguiendo el incendio que sobra. Donde todavía vemos un poco de actividad es acá en esta área de la División A. Y lo que vemos, lo estamos volando con aviones infrared y lo que nos están dando, la data que colectamos de esos aviones es la huella que dejó el incendio. Estamos extinguiendo lo más posible para asegurarnos que nosotros podamos repopular esas áreas. Por los vientos y el clima y nuestras condiciones, queremos prevenir que pase algo en esta área, pero pronto esperamos que vamos a tener esta parte del incendio bajo control. Si nos movemos al 50, vemos que el incendio todavía se sigue retrasando hacia la carretera y lo que hemos visto en este bolsillo es una isla que se sigue quemando. Lo que es una isla es un grupo de vegetación dentro del borde del incendio y lo que está pasando es que ha tenido tanto calor por 9-10 días y ahora esa vegetación se está encendiendo y nosotros por eso va a ver ustedes que sale humo y tiene todo eso, pero tenemos a patrullas tácticas en todas estas áreas para asegurarnos que no se incremente el incendio. Y lo que vemos acá es que nuestro plan es prevenirlo para que se mueva al Desolation Wilderness. ¿Y cómo estamos haciendo eso? Pues se pregunta uno. Estamos usando líneas mecánicas. Tenemos excavadoras y tenemos carrillas de mano que entran y lo que hacen esas carrillas de mano están cortando y removiendo vegetación seca y haciendo una quiebra en los combustibles para que no se pueda propagar el incendio. Por el cambio en clima, lo que hemos visto es que tenemos esos vientos leves que nos ayudan a hacer una lucha de fuego muy agresiva. Lo que hemos visto acá hacia el sur de la zona oeste es que sí tuvimos unas ascuas que se lanzaron y cruzaron en la carretera 88. Eso está controlado por nuestros bomberos. Tenemos un número de unidades de tierra ahí comprometidos y seguimos usando aerotanques y otros recursos aéreos que nos ayudan a controlar el incendio por el aire. Bajando a la división N, todavía también vemos ese incremento en actividad y es que el incendio sigue acercándose a la carretera 88, pero en esta área lo que queremos prevenir es que llegue a la comunidad de Kirkwood. A la zona este del incendio, lo que hemos visto es que no tenemos incendio activo en el área de Truckee. Hoy esto no creció muy gravemente. Lo que tenemos a grupos con tareas diferentes implementadas en esta área. Tenemos a grupos dedicados a la protección de edificios. Tenemos a grupos de mano que están entrando y están removiendo esa vegetación y esos combustibles. Tenemos a bomberos con mangueras extinguiendo partes activas del incendio. Tenemos un grupo comprometido ahí, tanto que hicimos otra base y en esa base se van a enfocar en todas las operaciones de incendio aquí. Lo que hemos visto también es un cambio en vientos. Los vientos siguen leve y no incrementan el incendio. Moviéndose hacia acá al sur, también tenemos a bomberos comprometidos y líneas mecánicas que estamos implementando. Con esas líneas mecánicas nos estamos asegurando que ya no incremente la actividad del fuego y estamos protegiendo todas las estructuras en esa área. Disculpe. Y si me siguen acá al mapa de evacuación, les queremos avisar que todo lo que ven verde son áreas donde las advertencias de evacuación han sido levantadas. En las vecindades de Farnham Ridge, Cement Hill, Consumnes, todas esas áreas, todas esas gentes pueden regresar a su hogar. También acá en las áreas de Carson, White Oak y Mosquito. Seguimos luchando en estas áreas del incendio. Lo que hemos hecho es ahora estamos preparando y nuestros compañeros de las compañías de utilidades han entrado y están empezando a reemplazar todas las utilidades y todo lo que va a necesitar de usted para poder regresar a su hogar sin estar en peligro. Les quiero acordar que 2 veces al día nosotros publicamos nuestra información que es validada, donde puede conseguir toda esta información, todas las órdenes de evacuación y todos los cambios que hemos hecho en el operativo de los 24 horas. Muchas gracias. Síganos en nuestras páginas de redes sociales sobre Facebook, Instagram y Twitter para la información más al minuto. Que tengan buenas noches.